Today we're going to add the ability to select and purchase towers. To do this, I'm going to add some interface elements to the screen. I'm going to go to my layers, lock my other layers, and select the UI layer. Then I'm going to add a tiled background object. Click on the screen, and I'm going to load the frame image. Close this. And I'm going to give the object the name frame. For my size, I want to set this to 184 by 40. That should give us a 5-column by 1-row grid. You can position this anywhere on the screen just like you can with any other user interface element. I'm going to give the coordinates for where this is so that you can make the objects inside line up. So I put mine at 252. 4, which puts it just off the top edge and gives me space to put a cost label underneath, which I'm going to make now. So I'm going to insert a text box. I'm going to name this cost label. I'm going to select it and move back with the left arrow 2 spaces to make it 254 and up 2 to be 46 so that it's centered between the bottom of the frame and the top of my wall. Resize it to be about the size of my frame and change the text to cost : What you put here won't matter too much because we're going to set this in the code. Next, we'll need to add our first button for being able to purchase a tower. So I'm going to make a sprite, put it in the first box, then I'm going to open up my crossbow 0. And it's important to set our collision polygon to be the entire bounding box so that we can click anywhere in the square to select this object. I'm going to name mine crossbow button. The position that should fit is 272, 24. Fits right inside of our box, and the size should remain 32 by 32. Now when you get to writing the code, you're going to realize that when you click on this button, you're going to want to drag around another copy to see what you have in your hand before you place it on the screen. You don't want to actually carry around the crossbow object because it'll shoot while it's moving, and you don't want to carry around the button either. So we're going to make another object just for building. So make a sprite, load crossbow 0 again, and go ahead and set that to bounding box as well. And leaving it off the screen like that is just fine. We're now ready to add our code. So let's switch over to our event sheet. When we start up, we're going to want to set our cost label to be invisible. So let's go to our cost label, and instead of actually setting it visible, we're just going to set the text to be blank. Next, we're going to add a group for our build controls. First thing in there is we're going to add a sub-event, and that's going to be when we touch the object crossbow button. While we're thinking about it now, let's go ahead and select that sprite that we have on layout 1 that is our crossbow building object and change that to crossbow build. Switch back over to our event sheet. So when we touch our crossbow button, we want to keep track of the fact that we have pressed that button and also have the ability to select other ones. So I'm going to create a global variable. We're going to call our global variable build select, which is going to be the object we've selected to build, or no object selected to build. So let's put in the description is an object selected for building. So if you have any cryptic variables, you might want to put in descriptions in there. So this is our time scale, and this is our fast forward time scale. Now that we've created our variable, let's add a system set value to our build select. We're going to change that to 1. Then we're going to want to create a copy of this object, our crossbow build object, at the mouse location. But we haven't added mouse controls to this yet. So let's go ahead and insert a mouse input, go back to our event sheet. Then we can add a system, create object, crossbow build. Okay. That should be on our user interface layer because we're not placing the actual crossbow yet. And then our X location is going to be mouse.x and mouse.y. So it'll be located right at our mouse cursor. Then we want to set our cost label to the value of the cost of our crossbow tower. So let's create a variable for that. We will call that crossbow cost. Give that some value, for example, 200. And then we can take our cost label and set our text to be cost colon space, and use our ampersand to connect our quoted text with a variable value, which will be our crossbow cost variable. Doing it this way, if we ever decide that our crossbow cost of 200 is inappropriate, we can modify that number without having to go change the code in several places. If we were to test that, we can now click on that object and it spawns a new copy, but it does not follow our mouse around. So let's add that next. So on build controls, we're going to add a new sub-event. Be system every tick, so every frame, we will update the position of our crossbow build. So add crossbow build. We want to set the position to mouse.x and mouse.y. But we only want to do this if we have our crossbow build select. So let's add another condition for system compare variable build select is equal to 1. Now when we test that, our crossbow will follow the mouse. So now we need to build a new tower. So let's add a new sub-event to our group. If we have touched the object wall, and so let's add another condition. System compare variable build select is 1. And we have enough money to actually purchase it, so add another system compare variable. Our money is greater than or equal to the cost of our crossbow. So let's go to crossbow cost. If all of those things happen, then we can build a new crossbow. So let's go to system, create object. We want to create a crossbow on, this time, our game layer. We want our X coordinate to be where we touch the screen, so touch.x. And where we touch screen here, so that's touch.y. But we don't want it to be free, so let's go to system. We want to subtract from our money the amount that is the crossbow's cost. And since our money's changed, we want to update our money label, which is as simple as getting our money label from our start of layout, copying it, and pasting it. So let's set our default money to a higher number, and then go to turret control, and remove the old create commands, and then test.